Good morning to all you Broncos fans out there, or if you're not Broncos fans and you're watching the show, good morning to you as well. This is Legends of Mile High. I'm Thomas Hall, and this is a show where we love to bring current events and history together with the intent of keeping the storied history of this great franchise alive. So, welcome to the show. We are pretty much all live on every stream. We got Twitch going, we got Twitter, we got YouTube, we got Facebook. We've got it all going. So, welcome in and thank you if you joined the discussion in the live chat. I really appreciate you guys being here, guys and girls. Thank you so much. So, first of all, let's talk about the bombshell report. I guess you could call it bombshell report. I don't know if it's a bombshell, but uh, Sean Payton said some pretty damning things, I guess you might say. But my first reaction is, the truth hurts sometimes, and whether he should have said what he said or not, that's not my place to say. And could he have said it with more tact or something? Maybe. But the thing of it is last year was a disaster, and that there's no other way to put it. We all sat here and watched exactly what Sean Payton said, right? Last year we watched it unfold on the field. It was terrible, and everybody had a hand in it. I mean, it comes from the top to the bottom, right? So saying that even the ownership was involved in the disaster is the truth. I mean, everybody was. So I regardless of whether I think he probably should have said that or not, we all saw what happened. It was the truth, and I don't fault him for saying it. Maybe I fault him a little bit for not saying it with a little more tact or even saying it at all. But at this point, it was what everybody saw. So it's the truth, and I'm not gonna fault Sean Payton for it. I know a lot of people are upset about it. Some people, especially the Jets, they can be upset if they want. I mean, obviously Nathaniel Hackett was a terrible head coach. There's no doubting that. I think they might be a little more upset about him calling out the Jets being on Hard Knocks and whatnot. But it is what it is, right? Who cares? It's talk. What it really has to happen is wins on the football field. And once that starts happening, people are going to forget about it. But if Sean Payton can't come out and start winning, boy, the media and the other teams are going to be pretty merciless. So he better back up what he's talking about. That's all I have to say. He better back it up on the field, and if he does that, then all will be forgotten. So we got David Youngkin coming in this morning saying, watching ESPN, and Mike T said that Sean Payton had no business saying what he said. Yeah, I mean, that could be right. Like he probably shouldn't have said it, but he had a reason for it, right? And people are speculating that it was to, help the team and help Russell Wilson and whatnot. But he can say whatever he wants. Like I said before, everybody saw what was happening, right? He didn't say anything that wasn't new to anybody. So yeah, maybe he shouldn't have said it, but who cares? At this point, it's been said, and it was pretty much the truth from what I saw. And then we got Corey coming in. Thanks for being here, Corey, this morning, saying, what time does training camp live stream start? I don't know if they're doing a live stream. I know they did a live stream for COVID when fans weren't able to come, but I don't know if they're doing a live stream this year or not. If they are, that's news to me. So yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know. It would be cool if they did, because I'll definitely try and watch when I can, until I can get out there live. So thank you. And speaking of which, right? Speaking of which, being out there live, I'm gonna be out there with Luke Patterson August 1st through hopefully the 5th, but at least through the 4th for sure. And we're gonna do a giveaway. So come out. Make sure that you take a picture with us, post it on Twitter, and we will do a drawing, I believe, or I don't know exactly how we're going to pick the winner, but I believe it's some sort of drawing or whatever for some merchandise. So yeah, come out, find us. We'll be out there and take a picture with us. So yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be a lot of fun. Clayton Huron coming in this morning. Good morning, Clayton. Thank you for being here. Thanks for the support. As always, really appreciate you being here on the show this morning. Saying, morning, guys, smash that like button and share, guys. Yeah, definitely. Like the show. Try and get more of your friends and family to join. It's always more fun to join live, right? I know it's early in the morning. I know that everybody has to get up and get going on their day, but if you can join live, the discussion is so much more fun, right? Especially when we get into some of these legends of yesteryear. People who have seen them play can definitely come in and give their comments. But yeah, thank you for that, Clayton, and thank you for being here. Appreciate it. And Dom is coming in this morning as well, saying, good morning, Thomas, Scott, and Broncos country. Thomas, I really, really hope Randy, Mike, or Dan get into the Hall this summer. Hall of Fame voters need to get over themselves and realize the Denver Broncos have Hall of Fame talent in their building. Denver Broncos for life. Well, Dom, you hit the nail on the head, right? Let's talk a little before we get into the training camp, the final primer or whatever that I was going to talk about. Let's talk a little bit about the Hall of Fame. Now, I cannot fault the Hall of Fame voters for the last 15 years, right? They have put a lot of Broncos into the Hall of Fame over the last 15 years. I mean, we got Terrell Davis, we got Steve Atwater. There's players that, are associated with other teams like John Lynch and that have come and play, but they're kind of associated with other teams. But I think they've done a fairly good job of getting Broncos. And now it is a hard task to vote in players, right? There's a lot of deserving players. And there's a few that need to be in still today that are waiting. And I think I will fault the voters for one thing recently is I think it's easier for them to go look at career stats for running backs and wide receivers and get those folks into the Hall of Fame easier because they can say, oh, well, he's this number on the all-time list. Let's talk about that. Let's see if we can get that person in. But when it comes to offensive linemen, it's a lot different. It's harder to go, it's hard to go look at stats because there aren't any. It's hard for them to go back and review film. I mean, that's a lot of work. So it's easier to grab. So when you see someone like Fred Taylor, who I don't think was ever the best running back in the NFL whenever he played, right? So for me, that's the first thing. Like, was he ever considered the best? He has career stats. He had longevity, but he was never the best running back in the league. He was nominated, right? And there's talk that he's going to get in, but people who played center or guard are the hardest to get in. I went back and I looked at all the Hall of Famers. Center is the hardest to get in. If you look at like awards per years started and things like that, you have to have like 5 all-pro awards to get in the Hall of Fame as a center when you have wide receivers in that have one, or they're not they're definitely not using the same criteria across players. But my other problem with the Hall of Fame and the Denver Broncos is they excluded them for a long time in the past, right? You have a team that went to 4 Super Bowls from the 70s and 80s, and then won 2 in the 90s. And it took until John Elway to get a Denver Bronco into the Hall of Fame. And that's where I have the problem. They ignored Broncos from one of the greatest defense of all times, right? The Orange Crush. They don't have one player from that team in when all the other kind of iconic defenses have somebody in the Hall of Fame. Now, I think if they'd have won that Super Bowl, there'd probably be three of those players in the Hall of Fame. But those are the type of things they ignored those. So Randy Gradishar should be in the Hall of Fame already. So it's a bit of a bummer that they have ignored him and pushed him. So all those players are now in the senior pool, and it is so hard to get into the Hall of Fame as a senior candidate now because it's just such a backlog. So that's where I have the problem. And the second problem is they don't use the same criteria for every player, right? So you put so Bill Cowher got in the Centennial class 2020. Mike Shanahan has a better resume, and I've shown it many times, written articles about it, talked about it. Mike Shanahan has a better resume than Bill Cowher, yet he's still not in the Hall of Fame, and even though he's eligible. So they don't use the same criteria, right? And if you look at Charlie Sanders, tight end from Detroit's in the Hall of Fame. You look at Riley Odoms, had a better career personally. I think at least the same career if you look at stats and you look at awards, you could at least say the same. But I would say slightly better. Riley Odoms doesn't even get thought about. So that's the other thing that bothers me, but I could go on and on, but thanks, Dom, I appreciate that. But yeah, I think if Randy Gradishar doesn't get in this year, this 2024, if he doesn't get elected, I think it's going to be very upsetting, not to just Broncos fans, but other historians that believe he belongs. I've talked to many other people from fans of different teams, and they believe Randy Gradishar is the biggest snub right now. So I'm hoping it's Randy Gradishar, and I hope Al Wistert gets in as well. And I was thinking Bob Kuchenberg should have been for Miami, should have been he's not even made the finalists, which is weird. So those were my three, but I'll have to pick somebody else. I think another person that is deserving, but with a short career, is Sterling Sharp. He was obviously the best player when he played, I think, at his position, and he's waited for a long time because he had a short career. But that's neither here nor there. Dan Reeves is going to have a harder time getting in, I think, than Mike Shanahan. I think Shanahan probably could get in this year, but if Randy Gradishar goes in, they may make Mike wait another year because they're kind of strange like that sometimes, where they don't want to get overload one team. But we'll see. It's gonna happen soon. They're gonna do a vote in just over a month, I think. So, and hopefully I can have the ex fan of the year, who's a big time Gradishar supporter for the Hall of Fame and other players for the Hall of Fame, have Ron on again, and we'll go through Gradishar's career. So thanks, Tom, appreciate it. Clayton Huron's coming in. Thank you for coming in this morning and support as always, Clayton, from Facebook, saying, "Man, we're going to see a different Broncos team. I can't wait. New improved Russ, our receiver core, ground and pound game. Can you say way more than 8 points a game? Our defense going to be stellar. Baby and bring down safety to cover." Sorry, I think you got some typos in there, but great linebackers, more blitzing as well. Clayton, I am excited too to see this team. Only you hit the nails on the head, right? Like it's going to be a different team from the get-go. The last year team we saw was not prepared and came out looking bad from game one, and for the most part, and never really recovered. Hopefully we see a difference in the injury bug. That would be the number one thing for me. Have that injury history that we've had turn around and not have as many injuries. The Broncos have definitely had more injuries than other teams. But yeah, I think you're right. And I think that we're going to see a team that's prepared and put in the position to succeed. Now the players have to go out and execute. So there are a few positions that position groups that I'm still a little worried about, and we're going to talk about that today. And those need to be fixed or addressed. And I have one position group that I've always talked about that I feel is lacking. But if a couple players step up, it could become a strength, go from a weakness to a strength. So we shall see there. And Dom is coming in to address the report that what Sean Payton said, and said, "I like it. It brings fire to the campus season. Team needs that. Absolutely. They need to change. They need something different, and that's what we're getting." So we got Gary Palmer coming in. All right, Gary coming in from YouTube. Thank you so much. And said, "What did Mike T say when they were trashing Russ?" Yeah, that's the same thing. It's like it's okay to trash Russell Wilson personally all season because he's having a bad year, but they take offense for when somebody says the truth, So I got you, Gary. Thanks for coming and saying that. And just so you know, I'm here by myself today. So if I miss a Facebook stars or anything or super chats, I apologize. And then we've got Clayton Huron coming in. It's a mini no-fly zone again. We have the players to do it, and the talent is definitely there. Well, thanks coming in again, Clayton. Say that. I'll say that it's going to be hard to replicate the no-fly zone. That was an incredible secondary. I do like our secondary. I have to wait to see a little bit because there's some players that I got to see first before I can kind of judge how good they're going to be. One of them is Damari Mathis. I want to see that he continues to progress, in that defensive back unit. I would say he's on the trajectory, but sometimes players have a sophomore slump. I thought he did a great job as a rookie coming in and filling in when injuries happen and starting the last half of the season. So I expect him to be better. So we'll see. That's one question mark, I guess you could say, is he needs to beat that sophomore slump and make sure he comes out and has improved. And then the depth is, to me, still a bit of a question mark. I haven't seen the depth as out there. Get some injury history with Asang Bassi, but and a rookie, Riley Moss, is that he has to prove that he can play in the big leagues still. I think he can. So there's a few question marks, but the potential is there, right, to be a really, really good secondary. Especially you got two experienced safeties, and you've got a wealth of talent of young guys that, if they take that next step, can be very, very good in this league. So I think they're going to have a solid secondary, but I still have some question marks, especially in the depth area, that need to be shaken out. And so some of the players that I talked about, one of those was in the secondary. When I said talked about players to watch last week, JL Skinner's one. If he can be as good as people think he can be, you're going to see some movement in that secondary and impact across the roster. So go back and check that one out. So far I've done 3. I talked about the keys to watching camp and understanding the success and players to watch, and the position group that I have a big question for it. And the question that I have has gotten worse since Wazirike was suspended, right? So the Broncos were relying on those two young guys, him and Henningsen, to be a big part of the rotation. They didn't go out and get anybody, and that was a big question mark for me from free agency, right? I was talking about that. They brought in Lancaster, who has missed last year to injury, so there's a question mark about him. But I think the defensive line, that's one of my things I want to talk about. I think that it's a question mark. I think it's a weakness right now, but I think it can turn into a strength for a few reasons. And this is what we need to watch at camp, right? We need to see Mike Purcell come back from whatever surgery he had. He's on the PUP list right now. Come back and play well and stay healthy. That's number one. If he can do that, I think the starters across the front are going to be pretty solid. Now, the next biggest question is, how is Tyler Lancaster going to play after missing last year? If he's playing really well in training camp, that's going to be a huge benefit, a veteran rotational piece who can come in and play really well. And then how does Henningsen step up, right? He played a lot last year, and I think that if he can take that next step, right, and be a solid rotational piece, then these questions that I have it's gonna turn into a defensive line strength, staying healthy, getting these players to step up, and we'll see it in camp. And I'm gonna be specifically watching that when I'm out there. So don't forget, I'm gonna be out there with Luke Patterson, the 1st through the 4th. We're doing a giveaway. Come say hi, take a picture with us, throw it up on social media for a chance to win merchandise. So that for me is the one thing that I really wanted to talk about today, was turning what you can do to turn that weakness into a strength. And it's the defensive line for me. Jeremy Sean coming in this morning, say, "Morning, Thomas. Sorry, I'm so programmed to start at 7:30. Not going to lie, I kind of like the fact Payton is writing checks that the team will need to cash. The culture was soft and it needed changing." Yeah, Jeremy, I appreciate what you're saying there. And yeah, we start at 7. Try to start at 7:00. Sometimes I have to change it, but I'm with you, right? There was last year was a mess, and even before was kind of a mess as well. There wasn't a coach that actually came in and did what they said. Hackett was a disaster. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He was a disaster. But Fangio came in and said that he was going to, be that coach that made sure all the little things were taken care of, and he didn't do it either. He talked a big game, but couldn't make it happen on the field. So, I mean, this might light a fire under the team. We'll see how it shakes out. To me, talk is talk, and he can go out and say whatever he wants, but they have to back it up on the field. He's going to get a ton of bad press if, based on what he said, if the team comes out and flops. right away. I don't think they will. The history of Sean Payton is one of turning around the franchise, right? He only has one instance of it, but he took a 3-13 Saints team and won 7 more games the following year and got him into the playoffs. So he's not one that you should doubt from my perspective. So yeah, thanks for coming in, Jeremy. Appreciate it. And we got Gary Palmer coming back in with the $4.99 super chats. And good morning, Thomas. Thank you, Gary. Appreciate the support as always. And thank you for being here this morning, bright and early. And I hope to see you all out at camp. It'll be fun. So thanks for the support. Really appreciate it. Now, for me, I've talked about some players at camp that are under pressure, right, to perform, and they're kind of on the bubble. And I've talked about KJ Hamler, right? He's kind of the obvious one. Kendall Hinton is another one, right? That he could be on the outside looking in, even though he's been, it was a good story and has been performing fairly well. But those are kind of obvious ones. Kareem Jackson's one that might be on the bubble, depending on how the young safeties do with his contract. Easy to get out of. But there are some others that maybe you don't really kind of think about, right? Like Isaiah Prince, they signed him in the offseason, and then they went out and got Cam Fleming. Isaiah Prince has been in the league for a long time, but he doesn't have a lot of experience playing, right? He missed a couple seasons, so due to COVID and injury. So he's one that I think needs to really have a good camp in order to be a backup. And I think he's going to get pushed by some of these young guys. And then also I think Cushenberry is under a lot of pressure, right? A lot of pressure. We've talked about that. He has to step up his game. He has to improve a lot. He's under a lot of pressure. I don't think he's on the bubble. I think he's the starter, penciled in right now, but he could lose his job in camp if he doesn't take that next step. So I think he's under a ton of pressure. And then Albert O is obviously under a lot of pressure. He has to have a huge camp. He has to do what it takes. He's got to be a better blocker. He's got to be dynamic. He's got to be a great player in order to stick around, because the ex-Saints are here kind of taking his spot and already have a leg up. Trotman and Manhurts already, are more versed in the system, and it's going to be tough for Albert. He has to have a huge camp in order to stick around. So those are 3 that, other than some of the obvious ones that are really, really under a lot of pressure for sure at camp. So I'm going to be watching them as well. And we got Jeremy coming back in, wants to talk about the reactions, right? Jeremy says, I watched a lot of reactions from yesterday. Seems like coaches and media hairdos didn't like, but all the former players besides Billy Turner seemed to like it. Yeah. I mean, Billy Turner took offense to it, right? Because he's friends with Nathaniel Hackett and he's a Jet, and Sean Payton kind of went after the Jets a little bit. So, Billy Turner he can say what he wants to say. I think he kind of overreacted to it a little bit, especially being a player that has didn't do much last season for the Broncos. He was always injured. And so, I mean, they can all react. And the media, of course, is going to jump on it and trying to milk it for what it's worth, of course. And, other coaches probably don't like it because, I think they, that was kind of a slam on other teams. So, yeah, I don't know. But the players, for the most part, kind of a lot of them come out and said that, it's the truth, right? We need to hear this and we need to go out and perform. So as long as the team performs, there's going to be no issue. So, and we'll see right away if they're willing to, if they're going to be able to perform, right out of the gate. So, it's going to be quite a reaction for a while. And, like I said, if they can't make it happen, on the field, then that's going to be a problem for sure. So, So let me look in here if there's any other comments. So again, Legends of Mile High every Friday at 7:00 Mountain Time. 8 o'clock Central, 9 Eastern. So get your coffee and join me in the morning. I'm going to start after camp. I'm going to start bringing back the Mile High Legend. I've been putting those out, the old ones out on Twitter. So go out and check those. It's they're fun stories. So I'm going to bring those back, and we'll have some fun at the end of the shows like we always do. All right, so I'm going to give you a couple predictions about camp when it comes to certain players. So my MVP of camp, and I said this on Wednesday, is going to be Jerry Jeudy. And the reason why I say that is he's someone who can make a lot of noise, in those drills and 7-on-7 and stuff like that. Maybe it won't always translate to the field as well, but he's going to be the camp MVP for me. I think he's got a good season in store for him too. So I think he's going to kind of be the star of camp. The offensive player of camp after Jerry Jeudy, obviously, I think Jaleel McLaughlin has a potential to really kind of show up and shine, especially in drills. He's got speed. I think you'll see him be one of those stars that people are like, oh man, he could really make this team. And I think they have a need for him on the team too. So I think I think if he can really kind of shine in camp, he's going to be that undrafted free agent that makes team that the Broncos have a history of doing over the last 20 years. And then the defensive player of camp, and this might come as a surprise, and I know it's easy to pick like Justin Simmons and people who are already established, but I think Christopher Allen is going to surprise a lot of people. I've been talking about Christopher Allen for a while. His problem has been he's had stunted growth because of injuries, and he hasn't been, due to his injuries, he didn't get drafted and things like that. But he has the professional body type, right? He can set the edge. He's strong, he's lean, and he can get after the passer. So if he's healthy and has learned a little bit in the off season to kind of make his game better, he's going to surprise a lot of people, and he's going to make some noise in training camp that people aren't expecting. So those are my three that I think are going to be fun to watch and pay particular attention to. And I think Christopher Allen has a chance to make this team, right? Because there's a lot of question marks, a lot of injury history in that edge group. They're going to need all the depth they can get. So if somebody can step up and be that really solid depth piece, that's going to be a huge win for the team. All right. Let me check to see if there's any other comments here. All right. Jeremy, we'll go back to Jeremy asking, Thomas, did you feel that Payton's comments about George Payton and the fact that George Payton hasn't talked to the media means anything, something to watch? Well, the comments were, they kind of hit home. And it was Payton's, he's the one that hired Hackett, right? So, his fault starts with him. He hired him. It wasn't that it was a reach. I mean, there were a lot of teams that were after Hackett. And I think people were excited about Hackett and what he could bring to the team. He just couldn't do it. And so, but the blame falls at the feet of George Payton for that hire, right? So that was a mark against him, and everybody had a hand in it. So I think that Sean Payton is kind of showing who has authority over most of what goes on with the team. They went out and spent a lot of money and a lot of draft picks to get him. It's his team. He's going to mold it in his likeness. And George Payton is going to have to, kind of be a part of that. And if there's going to be a power struggle, my guess is they'll find a new GM. So I don't know if it really means anything other than he said he had a hand in it, which he did last year's debacle. But I think what it means going forward is this is Sean Payton's team. And if George Payton doesn't like it, then there'll be a changing of the guard. But if George Payton works well with Sean Payton and doesn't, and they can put together a good team, then I don't think it matters much. But we'll know going forward. And I do think that Sean Payton, even though he's not the GM, excuse me, had a lot of say, more so than people would think in the drafting process. All right, Clayton Heron's coming in. I'm going for Russ. I really think putting in the small things and the little things going to totally pay off for him. The talent is there. Looking for Russ, baby. Let's go. Denver Broncos for life. Clayton, you're right. I think Russ, I never worried about Russ putting in the work, right? He put in the work last year. He was out there putting in the work. There was a lot of distractions, and I think the offense that they wanted didn't suit him, even though that's what they wanted. So the right offense, you know, putting him in position to succeed and having an offensive line that actually functions well is going to do a lot for Russ. I think the running game as well, but it's I'm pulling for him too. I've already predicted that he's going to have a bounce back season a long time ago. I think it's going to be a big bounce back season, a lot bigger than people are thinking. So, Russ has got to put in the work and get better, and I think he's going to do it. Kevin Gray coming in saying, morning, Thomas. Scott, big mile high salute to Broncos country. Came in late and we'll go back and watch. So, thanks, Kevin. Thanks for coming in. Obviously, you can always go back and watch any of these shows from Mile High Huddle on Mile High Huddle YouTube. And it's, go back and check out the older ones, go and check out the Mile High Legends that we're putting out there on the video section. That's always fun. If you just want to watch those are all starting to pop up on there as well. And then we got Mike Marcello. Well, thank you, Mike, for coming in saying, I love your podcast. I always listen while I'm staring at a clogged toilet swirling my chest hair. That's funny. Well, thanks for liking my podcast. I really appreciate it. Thanks for coming in and saying that. Jason O'Neill's coming in saying, good morning, Thomas and Broncos country. I'm enjoying the truth speak from Sean Payton. And honestly, the words need to be spoken to totally commit to a new culture change. Yeah, well, he's trying to change the culture, and people are saying he's saying it for a reason, and there must be a reason for that, and hopefully that reason has to do with the changing of culture. But it was time to address the problem, right? I mean, that's the thing. We can all sit here, everybody's talking about how bad it was. He addressed it, and now it's time to move on, right? He supported his quarterback, supported the team. He kind of showed that there was issues all across the board, and that started with the head coach. So I think you're right. It needed to be kind of said and gotten out there and done with, and now moving on. Of course, the media is not going to move on, especially if they don't win right away. Albert Knopper's coming in saying, good morning, Tom and Mile High Huddle fans. Sean finally expressed yesterday what all fans know about Russ and Hackett's leadership. In Payton, we trust. Yeah, I mean, it's true. I mean, Hackett was a mess, and I appreciate you coming in, Albert. It's unfortunately the truth, and we all saw it. So hopefully Russ can change and do what he needs to do. So I hope that comes to fruition. And Clayton Huron coming back in saying, great show. Always, bud, smash the like button and share on the way out. Yeah. Thanks so much. Appreciate the support, Clayton. And we're going to grab one more comment from David Bishop saying it's refreshing to have a head coach with the nuts to speak his mind candidly. Yeah. I mean, it's true. He's one of those coaches that will say, sometimes he won't say anything, but he's not gonna be the nice guy and that's what it takes, man. It takes, sometimes you can't be the nice guy as a leader, and that's what Hackett was the really nice guy and led the team down the wrong way. I mean, you can be a leader who is friendly enough, but sometimes it takes something a little extra to get players in line and do what needs to be done. So, all right. Well, thank you so much for everybody joining in the show. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate the support. I am going to be out at camp next week. And so stop by, say hi. And don't forget, Luke Patterson and I will be out there. Take a picture with us, win some merchandise. And it'll be fun. So, but remember, I'm going to be looking at a lot of these things that I've been talking about, and I'll be reporting out on them. So look for the reports, look for the shows, and hopefully Luke and I can do a show after camp, our regular Mile High Insider show, and then I'll see if I can do my show while I'm out at camp in the morning. I don't know if I'm going to be able to, so I'll be out trying to get to camp and whatnot. So stay tuned for that. I will announce that. But anyway, thank you for being here, everybody. Thanks for the support, and we will see you out at camp, Broncos camp. So thank you very much. Have a great day.